which is always interesting to connect. So it's always late at night for me and early in the morning for her. So um,
Yeah.
we connect and work together on a mastermind too. So it's kind of fun. And
Fun.
um, she is absolutely incredible. She does a lot of very Im- impressive things, and I can't even mention them all because they're so wonderful. Um, very, very talented, and it is my honor to have her talk to us today and share her um, one piece of that she does, which is boundaries, connections, and communication. So, Ashita, if I would let you give us a little background about you before you jump in, that would be fabulous.
Okay, awesome. Thank you for this intro, Jennifer. I'm going to share a little bit about myself. I'm a background teacher and trainer for the past 25 years. I did academic education. It started with academic teaching academic education and also inspiring kids to actually um, enjoy learning. That's how I started. And what embarked me to this journey of holistic is when I was 18, I actually started my journey of taking care of my late mom, who had to have a stand down in her daily activities, and I am the caregiver nurse for her. Yeah, she had a she had kidney failure, and she had to go through peritoneal dialysis. I actually took care of her full time during that time while I was taking up my degree study. So I actually had this journey, which is incidental on about being a caregiver and taking care of others. But my mom passed away 1 year after that, and it's been already about 19 years. And
Oh.
I got married after that, and I got mom-in-law, amazing mom-in-law. But I think 4 years after I get to know her, she was diagnosed with cancer stage 4. Yeah,
Oh
and
no.
that was the time that all of us prayed for a solution, if there is really a solution for breast cancer stage 4. And
Mm.
miracle happens when we got an answer, and we stumble upon natural remedies. And the first thing that we embarked is taking an apricot seed that helps to eat up cancer cells, as we read up and research more about it. And my mom-in-law's body amazingly respond to the apricot seed by doing the detox and cleanse for her in the first 6 months, while we get get to know and get the apricot seed, which was researched and in Malaysia during that time, because it was not found in Singapore. So my sister-in-law researched, and we got it, and we met a real distributor that sell the apricot seed, so we get hold of that. So that's her first natural intervention that my mom-in-law had, and she add the apricot seed according to the boil. Let's say two caps every 4 hourly, and her body really respond to it. But she did do chemo, which is just 3 times, and eventually her body just um, refused to accept the chemo treatment. So eventually we stopped chemo just for 3 attempts, and we continued with other means, like doctor went through to strengthen her bones, and I stumbled upon essential oils too. So when I stumbled upon essential oil, I actually use essential intervention, and I learned about there is such thing called aromatherapy massage during that time. And I embark deeper into learning about the aromatherapy massage, and and that's the intervention that I've been using to assist my mom-in-law, mostly on because it helps her to release emotional, mental, and spiritual. Let's say she have this frustration or the pain, so it also release her pain during that time. She felt much better. But this aromatherapy massage, it's not like the body works kind of massage. It's really more on an electromagnetic massage that we actually can charge our body, and we can charge ourselves also. If you want to know later, I can show you some tips on it today. And then and that has helped her. But the massage I can only do 2 times a week, so she got a maximum of 8 treatment per month. And I'm just glad that I was given the opportunity to learn, because when I calculated the costing and everything, because it's a premium massage, it doesn't cost really cheap. It costs almost about um, $200 per hour. Some people could charge that as that. So if I'll just multiply it by 8 attempts, if we really need 8 attempts, it could cost us immediately about 1,006. And that would drain up our cash flow to assist her and support her while we are attending her cancer during that time. And amazingly, for the 2 years that I dropped oils at her spine, it was just about dropping oils directly at the spine and then doing some feathering, because in her diagnosis, the doctor mentioned that lots of her cancer cells are in her spine. So I dropped off for 2 years, and the doctor did a check on the X-ray and realized that some of her cancer cells actually disappeared during that time, and and she got stabilized. Yeah, and but she cleared that, but she had a second outbreak, and that leads her to um, leaving us recently. Yeah, but she survived on this for around 7.5 years. Yeah, my mom survived.
Good.
Okay, so we had a 7.5 years extension with her during the time when she had that. So it was really meaningful 7.5 years for me. Yeah, for our family too. Yeah. So today we're gonna lead to the topic that I want to share, which is boundaries. Yeah, and I learned that um, it's a lot about finding happiness. Frankly, how my mom-in-law survived during the ordeal is, I had lots of friends visiting me, and they will always ask me this question like, how does she not have the look of a person who has cancer, or a person who is sick? Normally, for a person who is sick, they would just be looking really depressed, and they will feel really down. Yeah, and they are coping, and they're struggling, and we know they're suffering in their battle. But my mom-in-law, the way she carries herself, she's very bubbly, and it's as if she never think about it. It's as if it's not there. And that's what most of my girlfriend always ask me. Oh, what did you do? What did you do to let her forget about her worries? I'm sure they will have 1,001 worries, right? But it's just not shown in her face. They were just wondering a lot about that. And I told her that actually a lot about understanding um, their pain and their suffering. But at the same time, we have to empower ourselves to make ourselves happy. And how do we do that? Yeah. So I stayed with her during that time, and to me, every day is a happy day, because I'm actually a bubbly person by nature. So when I used to be in my own home before I got married, I'm always the bubbly one at home. My mom always say, you step into my house, and my house went so noisy that it used to be peaceful with before. It's like when I go to school, it will be very quiet, but when I come back, the house will be very warm, because there's just like, so I talk a lot to my mom-in-law, because she's like my new mother when I met her, and that's what I've been helping her in her happiness. And today I'm really sharing about this called virtue of happiness that I took up from my notes, and I hope my sharing would actually be helpful for you ladies that come for my meetup today. And it's really honoring to share um, what I'm going to share with you, ladies. Before I proceed, if you have any questions, you can have your questions by typing at the chat that is available, and then we can attend to the questions slightly later, or maybe now. If you have, you can say it live. I would just love to hear, and then we can proceed. Well, yeah, well, Jennifer will be assisting me with the content. How is
That's
it?
wonderful. Thank you, Ashia. It absolutely impressive that caring for someone and helping them through such a terrible time and prolonging their life is really incredible. And so I'm going to run the slides for you. Just let me know. I'll kind of go by your cue, and we'll let you get started. I truly appreciate you again. Thank you very much for being with us from all the way from Singapore to the United States. Truly appreciate it, and very honored to have you with us tonight. So let me share my screen, and
Okay, the next key. Okay, let's look at the first page for it. Second one, yes. All right. So I'll share a little bit about the virtues of happiness and why in my journey, I believe that happiness will go a long way. And when I grew up, I've been actually learning uh, how to make myself happy whenever I'm down. And um, I believe that if we actually continue um, installing positive reminders to ourselves and our subconscious, um, then we can actually kind of like you wanted to spread the happiness that we felt, and then we can actually noted it. But what I did for my mom-in-law is really not about dismissing the fact that I know she's having her her concerns and her diagnosis. What I was assisting her during that time is actually mentioning to her that we could appreciate each other while it lasts, and how to raise our happiness in making sure that we can take care of our emotional, mental, and spiritual state. But frankly, for my mom-in-law, I think she have a very strong spiritual state where her willpower is really, really strong during that, really strong in her own self. And I guess that's her foundation, and that's what I saw in her foundation. What I'm supporting her a lot is more on the emotional state of comfort, and just complimenting her, um, giving her the feeling that she's not alone fighting this battle. I'm always here with her. I'm always by her side, and I think this does goes a long way. Um, because it's not this that I'm experiencing in life. I've experienced also during that time where my younger sister actually also have a nervous breakdown in her life while she lost my mom that I shared earlier about 19 years ago, and I saw that the solution to that is being there for her is actually giving her the love. So I'm just giving lots of love vibes, actually, and a love that is sincerely sincere, and the embracement of the love that reciprocate with one another. I think that's the beauty that helps healing to take place in any individual, regardless of what the situation is for you. And that's why I embark in these virtues of happiness in my sharing call that I'm going to share and move forward. Okay, let's move on to the next slide. Okay, I want to start by giving you time to to understand. And if you have a checklist, like I started myself with a checklist, um, I grew up when I was young. I was not this person that I am. It used to be that I normally will always get myself involved with my friends' problem when I was younger, and I always care a lot for them. That sometimes I myself went through a series of going through how I could help them to resolve the emotional mental state, like empowering them. So these are the 10 questions that I saw, and I think it's essentially interesting to note. Like, for example, sometimes for a person who's been like, if you don't have a boundaries in your life or in yourself, and if you have a personal setting that normally you do not, you out of unconditional love, you kind of give a lot, give in a lot, and you didn't set a simple boundaries in your relationship with anyone. So these are the 10 that I realized when I was growing up, during that time when I was always in my own thinking and reflection. I would face almost 10 of this. Um, like, if you fail to speak up when you're mistreated, or you give away too much of your time, or you agree when you actually feel like disagreeing, you feel guilty for dedicating time to yourself, you feel taken for granted by others, you have toxic relationship, you have chronic fear about what others think about you overshare details about your life with others, or you constantly feel like a victim, or you attract people who try to control or dominate you. Um, this amazing 10 notes that I'm sharing here is it's something that we practice in daily life. I think I practice it. I think my mom and law practice it in our daily life. But what I did during that time was I was acknowledging, I was just doing some acknowledgement, the fact that um, I learned that I must speak up no matter what happens. I learned that I must know when to stop. Like, if I set time that I don't mind spending hours, but if I have to pause, I learn to pause during that time, um, and then agreeing when it's agreeing. And um, that point number three that I've been doing it is the fact that I disagree, but sometimes I said it in a good way that for a lot of people to receive that, because let's just say simply in Asian context that um, we are my parents, when they brought me up, they're very strict. They're very strict, and they're very no kind of thing. It's like they say no telling lies, um, don't take advantage of others. They have all these basic rules like uh, don't share too much information about your family unless you know because and then, but on top of that, I have this nature when I was young to always, what if I shared more, what if I had to speak up, what if I have to disagree. uh it's okay to spend the whole time with them until they feel okay. Or but what pinched me during the journey of helping is like the first four does not bite me that much, but eventually, when I grew up, number five seems to be eating me up a lot. And I was struggling with that part. Like, you feel taken for granted by others. Eventually, I was a giver. And if I give lots of my time to others who I am helping or consulting them or being a friend to be listening to their situation, what would happen during that time? So I reached a level that we have to know when to set our good times together, and also understanding what is the meaning of a toxic relationship, and how do you get out of a toxic relationship, and can you get out of a toxic relationship if you have, um, and what is about this fear, the seven, the chronic fear that you feel about others. um, would you feel overstretched when the fear gets to you to a certain extent? Um, so what about the oversharing of details of life with others? Would you feel that uh, revealing yourself too much will make you vulnerable? Or what about the part that you feel like you're being a victim? How does it all come about in the first place? Yeah, so these are the things that I realized that every one of us at least have one in this checklist to note that we are actually encountering what we are encountering in life, and it is just showing that we may have no boundaries while we are building up a relationship with others. And we can actually have boundaries. We can actually have boundaries, but we could make it into a healthy boundaries, and that's what we're going to share um, for today to how to set healthy boundaries rather than encountering this again and again. How do you make it better? How do you improve it a little bit at a time? How do you step out a little bit at a time? That's what we're going to do today and sharing. Okay, so let's have the next slide. Okay, so when I started this whole program, I would want to reset what happens in the previous slide. So I want to move on, and I would love to give myself an opportunity to say that boundaries are healthy, boundaries are good. So I would share this with you, ladies, and if you want to take it down and if you want to note it, you can note it down by saying that I allow myself to set healthy boundaries, to say no to what does not align with my values, to say yes to what does. Boundaries assist me to remain healthy, honest, and living a life that's true to me. Yeah. And I believe so. If we have, if we start with this affirmation, eventually our mind would would note that, oh, there's such thing as positive boundaries. Oh, there's such thing that I can do for myself to empower myself. But at the same time, I'm also checking in my list if I can if I can have it like, if you have a bubble, then I could have things that my body, my system will assess it before I even permit it to to cross over and come into my space. Yeah. So this is something that I learned about space, and I believe that a lot of us out there, we have our personal space, and we would be sharing our personal space at times, but sometimes it's the personal space that maybe sometimes it becomes too squeezy when we allow too many people in the space. Yeah, it's like having a meetup room. If the space or the capacity is unable to fill up 20 packs, but it's only able to fill up 10 packs, but 20 packs came, so eventually our space will be a little bit overcrowded for the rightful number of space. So that is actually similar to how we have the space for ourselves, because individually every one of us actually grow up to know what is the meaning of having their personal space, but it's just a matter of us, due to being we practicing of loving others, and whether do we say to ourselves, like, do we love ourselves more than others, or do we love others more than our own self? So what is that? That would be something for you to ponder. Okay, all right, let's move on to the next slide. Okay, um, why I like this slide is the fact that it's about setting boundaries with difficult people, and I do have encounters when I do get the how I deal with a lot of difficult people in our life. Like sometimes we face difficult people with our clients, and our bosses, and the job work that we have, even on our colleagues, that we have these three groups of people that we encounter in our life. And how do we actually do simple setting for ourselves when we are dealing with them, and to say to ourselves that we're not going to get ourselves hurt because we are doing a responsibility that we want to share and help others in terms of uh, that's our roles and responsibility. I really like these five things that I normally do on a daily basis, but when I'm having my me time and my space. So I would actually just note down, but of course we won't be noting down when we're facing them, right? So we will have them noting down in our mind, subconscious mind, that that we will be talking to ourselves. What do we value in ourselves? And then you can tune into the emotions that you want to tune in, and you could ask the person as specific as you get, like how can I help you to release your dissatisfied feeling with the situation that you're facing? How could I ease it for you? I'm just going to share a context of my mom-in-law case. When um, if she's being difficult, if my mom-in-law is being difficult going through the process of battling her cancer stage 4, then I would ask her, how could I help her? In what sense would she allow me to help her? And how can we help one another to fill ourselves up, helping in this? And I built such a transparent relationship with my mom-in-law that I normally she would naturally always be specific, and she's always firm, and she was always sharing with me what she wants and how she wants to be treated, and what kind of food she wants to be served. Like during that time for her first 6 months, she's lucky to have another daughter-in-law who would say that, Aisha, I'm going to help mom. I'm gonna I'm gonna let her stay with me for the next 6 months. I'm gonna take her so she preempt me, and I'm gonna cook for her what she needs to eat for the day. And so I came into my sister's house, and normally there will be some sharing that I'll ask, how are you feeling and how are you coping with this? And then she would share with me, the food doesn't taste good. What did you all do to change the whole food thingy? It's not like the normal daily life that she used to love to have. We used to have this dish called that we add coconut milk in it. So it's something that she loved with coconut milk. But when she have cancer, we opt a lot of things else. We opt the one with coconut milk. We opt the one with a lot of salt. We opt a lot of sugar in her food. So we had to make it kind of bland. And then she would say, I had to eat this for 6 months, Aisha. I don't know if I can cope with it. And then I would share with her, it's only 6 months, ma, because 6 months is going to pass. But have something that's gonna help you. So amazingly for me, because my mom-in-law, she loved fruits and she loved berries, and that actually adds up to spice up on her taste texture. So I told her, Mom, you just eat that, like close one eye eating it, but after that you just imagine that you're gonna have your berries later after that. So berries would actually help to elevate you. And then she said, yeah, just gonna stick on that. I'm just gonna stick on that so that I can continue eating what your sis is cooking, even though it tastes awful. She said, but I'm just gonna eat it anyway. But I'm gonna remember the berries that's gonna elevate me. And that's how we can actually help ourselves if we understand what makes them to feel to be difficult in the first place. But eventually they would actually not be difficult at all if we are able to talk it out, and we are able to find a solution for it, and we still can go on with our daily routines on that notes too. Yeah. So okay, I would like to ask my to you ladies, if you want to do some sharing, I can open to some sharing before I move on. Is there any sharing? So far, all good? Okay.
All good, Ashita. How do you, with the 10 signs of um, you know, when you recognize maybe one or two of the 10 signs of that you lack personal boundaries, is just the point that you acknowledge it and start to be aware that you're doing it help you not have that happen?
Yeah. What happened for my system before this is I normally have a system that I get myself in a situation where I'll feel embarrassed and I'll feel when it comes to me and the time that I overspend, I will have my parents would say, "Are you coming back? Where are you? Where do you go missing?" And I was spending time with my friends because during that time there wasn't any phone, right? So I would always tell myself, okay, I'm gonna just put and stay with you today, hearing all your woes and your pains. Maybe I could have to leave by 7. I would tell my friends that. So that was the time when I start putting on the time boundaries for them. And and that time I had a situation with these difficult people also. The fact that I was just somebody just came to me on the face and just tell me on the face what they don't like about me when I was in my growing up days. and I normally actually have a red face because I was blushing. I had this blushing look when I was younger, and I will turn red, and my friends would know that something happened, and sometimes they wouldn't ask me first what happened because they have to wait for my blushing to settle down, and then I can talk about it. So um, it is a feeling that I think that my mom always tell me to treat others nicely and kindly, but sometimes we get a reaction where people don't want our kindness anymore. There'll be a time that they said, let's stop this, and you don't have to come to my place anymore. During that time I was in my learning journey, was I was like, uh, what makes kindness becomes a little bit too much? I asked myself, and I went back reflecting it, and that's where if you look at the boundaries, the temple, your system would actually acknowledge it when you have people who actually telling you that they're having it a little bit too much and they don't want it anymore, and they want you to find somebody. Because when I think I realized that the fact that I was spending time with my friends and I was just being there for them actually, and I could be at any one other place, but I choose to be there for them. But a lot of people, when they were given that, sometimes some people just thought that um, you know it's something which normal people would give, but they didn't know that it's a choice that the person chose to be there for them. Actually, right? Yeah. And that's the thing that for people who give and take, that they have to learn to give and take. So when you give, you know what to take on, like when I shared just now, when you give and then you felt sometimes you felt that you're being victimized, right? You felt that way. And why are you being mistreated? On that note, that I'm just spending time with her. Why is it? But because sometimes it's not meant to be given the extra mile that that person deserves sometimes. So they actually just need just a little bit of your time. And then I had to learn. I had to learn to say and ask that, do you want me to stay for an hour? Because I used to not ask questions and I used to just go with the flow. But I had to learn, do, do, do you want me to stay for an hour for you? Or do you want me to stay for 2 hours with you? And I think those questions help while we are setting boundaries of time. Like for me, I set boundaries of time. And also during that time where also about our parents' side, where our parents always are there giving us what we want in life. But sometimes if we take it for granted, we wouldn't know that our parents would say that I can give the things that you need, but we can work it out, negotiate on how is it that you can get. Let's say if you requested to have a phone, for example, but we don't have a phone in our town, right? But my kids requested having a phone, and during that time, I remember mentioning to them that we need to earn. You need to earn having a phone, because this smartphone, it's really not cheap to get. It's not like plucking it from a leaf, from a tree in a leaf. We have to earn it, because I had to save up for you to buy you a phone, even if you requested it, even if you want it. But we have to look at it like you have to contribute something to deserve something. And I think that's the one that I shared with my son, and he was able to wait for the phone till it comes. My son actually waited almost a year before he really get a phone that we felt that it's time and he deserved, because at the age of 12 is the time that I introduced my son to a handphone, when everybody else is having phone at a young age, where he will see his friend having phone and he will just wait and mind his own business until his friend say, you can pop in and see what we're doing with the phone, and he will be looking. And then I said to him, yeah, because we won't be releasing it until it's time to release it. And they learn, and they learn on that note to accept. So it's about acknowledgement, one, to acknowledge for ourselves, and also to give ourselves that to be able to look at three perspectives. I would see in three perspectives. I would see one as a need. A lot of time we have to just look at to satisfy the need first, and then we will be able to acknowledge our wants, the wants that we need. So we have to do a next round, maybe perhaps if we go deeper, to actually start writing down our needs and wants, and then you will be able to check if you have gone over the boundaries of over asking, or depriving yourself on your, it's really more on your personal need and wants, actually, that you can do your checklist and check yourself on the 10 boundaries or on the personal scale. Yeah, I hope I answered that question for you, Jennifer. Does it help?
You did, yeah. Thank you very much.
Okay, all right, we move on to the next slide. Okay. Um, this is something that I love the fact that, because I learned boundaries with no drama. The fact that I started my journey doing private tuitioning during that time, and I enjoyed my journey so much that's why it lasted for 25 years. And I'm still teaching until today. I still enjoy the fact that I'm doing um, academic teaching, even though I'm doing holistic teaching now. And I actually believe in this called boundaries without drama. I really believe in it. Um, what I think we were able to do is actually to find our guiding values, and I think we have some virtues for ourselves in ourselves that we will note. But the most important thing a lot of us fail to see is to actually do a simple acknowledgement when we are being resented. I think that's the thing that a lot of us don't do, because we think that we can cope and we can endure, we can take it. It's just there's a difference between being able to receive and being able to receive, but eventually we felt that we were being violated, our boundaries are being violated, and sometimes it becomes an obligation, and the obligation can also turn to resentment. So if you face the situation of how you want to acknowledge your resentment, you could write it down and just or just say to yourself that I'm acknowledging the fact that I'm also helping, and I'm allowing the fact that I want to do this extra mile. So extra mile means something that you wanna give, but we're giving it on a special case by case basis. So I will do extra mile on a case by case basis, so that you know that you're not gonna be this way to everybody, because sometimes not everybody can receive that much from you. Maybe sometimes they can take half an hour of your of yourself, of the time that you could give them, or they may need 1 hour, or they will need 2 hours. Um, I had my students who normally will study with me for 90 minutes. So that's the time that the parents will assign a real study of 90 minutes. But I always have the time where when they finish their 90 minutes, my student will ask me, can I stay for another hour at your place? Um, because I want to do my own thing. I just want to be here. And I would say, sure, you can have your 1 hour, because this 1 hour is not, I will not going to charge this 1 hour because it's your me time, but because you don't want to go back yet. Yeah, because my parents are not back yet. So I would rather be here waiting. And I know when they are on the way, I could just be on the way while they are on the way too. So I said, so you wouldn't want to be by yourself today, all on your own, in your own comfort home? No, I want to be here. I want to stay here. So I said, okay. So normally I will allow my students that wants to stay on for them to stay on, while I have the new students, because I have a back-to-back teaching. Last time I do home tuition, and it's an 8 hour session, 8 hour uh, full day session that I do home tuition, and I do have some of my students that come in and for me to start teaching them. So that's how normally I prioritize on that. But I normally deal with their resentment. How my students actually have their resentment. Normally they will say, what if today we don't do this particular topic? That's how my students show me their resentment. And I said, why do you find this topic difficult for you to want to deal with it? And then she said, I don't know. This topic is been the one that I've never get to overcome it. I'm always getting a straight zero, and I always see it wrongly. How do that's why I don't want to touch this topic, because I could see that they are having their fears on this topic. So I move on to the next one. So I went on with my students by addressing their fears. So I would ask them deeper. Um, what make you so fearful about it? I say, how do you manage to feel fearful? Because you're gonna feel fearful for this topic for the rest of your life. Because like for me, I shared with them my experience. If I see this topic and I get a straight zero, but when I see it again and I say it comes out second time, and I'm gonna get myself a straight zero again because I refuse to address it, and I would tell myself when I go back, I must find someone to explain to me this. I would have that determination to do that. And I would ask my student, what made you want to stay on being in your fearful state and not addressing it? And a lot of my students will say, we always get scolded if you want to attend. It's like in class, they will share the experience. In class, we will even not talk about it because we either get our friends laugh at us for asking all those silly questions, and that's the thing that make them unable to share out. It's like having a phobia. So normally for me, what I did with my students is I would share with them, let's not think about the emotions. Let's not think about the fear. Let's think about the fun. How we want to unravel this that you have. This I call this a mystery. I call this or let's be a Sherlock Holmes for today. I said so. I do a role play. Let's see how you're the junior Sherlock Holmes, and I'll be the adult Sherlock Holmes, but I want to uncover this mystery. Why I'm having this fearful feeling with this particular question? What is so challenging about this question that when I see it, like it kind of, for me, it's going to bite me throughout my life, and I'll feel agitated. I don't know if you feel agitated, but I guess yours is fear greater than agitation, right? So that's why you don't want to move on it. Okay, let's try to think and unravel it together. So that's what I did. So I realized that a lot of time when we are facing with our fears or when facing with our resentment, it's really good to have somebody who is willing to uncover or talk about it. And then when it comes out, then our mind will finally know that I've been aware about it. That's what the subconscious says. I'm aware about this. But to find somebody who wants to go through this with me and overcome it with me, I'm sure it's not easy to find someone out there to be able to. But if you have a situation, so for me, when I was doing my private tuitioning with my students, I normally will address this, even though it's not part of the syllabus, to share their resentment, to have to overcome their fears. But I find that these two important things help them to raise their confidence level and their self-esteem actually after I unravel that. And after the session, normally I will always ask them, what have you learned today? And then they will say, they will always remember and tell me that you actually managed to overcome that fear that I've been having for the longest time. I've been keeping it for the longest time. But today, I'm able to feel that that fear that I'm having is kind of gone. And I really saw the beauty about it, like unraveling the boundaries, like setting some without having any drama that we don't even because normally when people are addressing their resentment and fears, they would have an angry emotion coming out, and you have to deal with that first because that will come in, and then you have to listen and give a moment for it before you unravel it in for me, I love to unravel it in the discovery manner, and that makes it different from how we normally uncover it. Okay, but the last one, this one is very interesting. The part about don't own the monkey. Okay, this is the most mischievous part that if you could ever look at in boundaries without drama, and this is the one that normally I deal with kids who are playful, with kids who are yeah, the playful one and the rebellious ones. They would normally have this. They would normally be like a monkey, seriously, with you. They would just make fun of themselves. That's what they would do. They would make fun of themselves and say, no, uh, I'm just being, I'm actually such a silly person if you want to know me. I said, why are you doing it to yourself? Because you had to learn to appreciate yourself. You're not that silly after all. I was silly once, but you can't be silly forever. That's what I normally share with my students, and they'll say, okay, so I don't have to be silly. No, you can just tell yourself with effect from which date do you want to still be silly. If you want to still be silly for the rest of your life, you can, but you continue telling yourself that you're silly. But if you say that I'm gonna be silly just for today, and today is the last day I'm gonna be this way, and tomorrow I'm gonna be a different person. I'm not gonna be this silly nature. I'm gonna be something happy or something excited or something to look out for. That's how I assist my students on this. But for me, when I was helping someone who's coping with their stress or their or like my mom-in-law, how she's dealing with this, normally we'll be playing fun things like I would tell my mom-in-law and say, um, Ma, if we continue feeling sulking, our face will have a lot of wrinkles all over, and then it will not be nice to have a wrinkly face all the time. If it's gonna add up, and then my mom will just chuckle and laugh about it. I said, "You're talking about my wrinkles? Are you saying that I'm that old?" I said, if you feel that way, but if you take it as that way, but if you don't, then we just laugh about it all the time. So sometimes for me, the silly monkey could be the remarks that I made, and it's funny. It's a funny remark, but it's just to cheer up the day for her. And I do have things like I do have my family would normally my mom would always say, you always have something funny in the middle of a conversation, and then after you make me forget about what I'm supposed to think about, and I'm just focusing on the funny and silly things to laugh about. I said, don't we have can we just have a mix of both, because it helps us to feel lighter. Actually, what we are doing, if you're able to feel lighter and feel happily and bubbly, or just create a joke out of the blue, maybe our heart rate would actually be more relaxed and less tense. Actually, that's the most important implication that I wanted to do to my students, because I would feel their fear, I would feel their phobia, I would feel their anger. But normally I would say, I wouldn't want this feeling with them to be lasting, because in the long run, you would know that if you're holding too long for certain things, eventually a whole different organ will get affected in the long run. So that could be something that you know that we can have it like for 30 minutes of anger, but that's it. Or we can have 30 minutes of sadness, but that's it. And that does help, and that does help in terms of our body coping mechanism. That's something to look at if you're looking at boundaries without drama. Yeah. Okay. You can have it the next slide. Okay. This is something that I plug, but I love about setting healthy boundaries around. And what we do normally when we are overstressed, we would want to have a situation where um, that's why we go for a holiday, right? So when we go for a holiday, if we have healthy boundaries, we can still have healthy boundaries in a holiday, like telling ourselves that, oh, I go for a 3 days holiday. When I come back to when I come back, I must feel fresh in my mind. I must feel lighthearted in my mind. Um, uh, the load of my chest will be lighter. The load of my mind will be lighter, and I can recharge and restart again or reset again for my work that I'm facing it. Let's say, for example, if a situation where we face a client that is a difficult client, but that is a powerful client for us to serve, because the client actually care. If we actually manage to take care of them, they're actually able to churn us new deals on that. Yeah, I could help you with that. And okay, so that's why when we go for a holiday, I always take my holidays seriously. I took care of my late mom as a full-time caregiver. And there's certain days that you do feel drained. There's certain days that I feel drained as a caregiver. But I'm just grateful in my life that I have a cousin and auntie and uncle that actually look at me as knowing that I would get burnout while taking care of my mom. And they took me out for a holiday, a short getaway normally. And this is what happened during my holiday time. They would always tell me, Aisha, please don't call your mom at the start of our holiday. You can call her later on. You can call her while we are going back. Because or else after you call her, you're gonna be so sad all the time, and then we're not gonna have that much fun. So that's why I took up. So I took up during that time when I have my short holidays. So you can, this is just an example. I'm going to head upstairs, get some quiet time. That's where you have your space boundary. Let's not talk about the topic, this topic for dinner tonight. And that's the topic boundary. You won't be able to stay for the night, but we're able to look forward. We are really looking forward for dinner. That would be something to look at. I'm not eating correct right now, but I appreciate you taking time to make it. It's like, yeah, the last part is interesting because the fact that sometimes our cooking is not always the right kind of cooking, right? But I really appreciate the fact that someone just come and tell me, Ma, today like my kids, when they come back, they have this that they tell about me, and they will say that I love your cooking, Mom. But the fact that I'm a growing up boy and I need more proteins in my food, could you could you give me more proteins instead for my meal every day? And I will respond like, when I'm not around, when I'm traveling at work, you would not even have what you're having now. I said to them, but when I'm around, you can ask for the perks, amazing thing that you requested when, and I will come and I will update my spouse and my husband about it. I will say, your son is asking for extra proteins in his diet. I said to my husband, and then I would ask like, what do you think? Do you want to give me the extra perks, extra marketing fund to stretch for me more to give extra proteins for your son, because the current state of extra allowance will not be able to buy extra proteins for him normally. But my husband will say, yeah, we'll work out the protein part. So I did work out with him the protein part. So that could be something for you to look at. Sometimes for holidays, normally I love to go for a vacation with an apartment, kind of apartment. I would love to say an apartment because they have a separate kitchen, right? So in that separate kitchen, you can actually still do home cooking if you don't want to to actually have the food outside or the hotel food for the whole time. Yeah, so you can, there is actually an option for that. I love the fact because I learned this holiday boundaries that I learned is during my teenage time when I was taking care of my late mom. My cousin set this up for me actually. So they said, Aisha, you've always been this way all the time. Can we have all this in place? Like, but I really appreciate my cousins for doing that for me during that time, because that actually are the one that gave me and allowed me and told me actually in a nice words that I could be burned out if I continue doing on and on. And if I put like a short kind of break, like for a while, a pause for 5 minutes, I could feel better, and it has helped me through having that break. So these boundaries, sometimes the space that we requested, they could they could actually give us a more healthier way to continue, even though we are facing and dealing with it on a daily scale kind of thingy. And I was able to go through with my mom-in-law state, and I could just put a timeless option for her because I wouldn't know when is the big day. But amazingly, going through it has been amazing. And I took care of my younger sister during that time when my mom passed away, and my younger sister was only 16. But I was able to raise her up, and my mom promised me one thing before she goes. She always reminded me, can you make sure you get your sister married? She must get married. And I always disturb my mom, and I would say, don't you have this rule for me that I must get married? But you said to me to make sure that my sister must get married. I said, what's the deal? And then she said, your deal is for you. I don't know when you're gonna get married because you have too many suitors that you turned down doing that. And then, but you can get your sister married. But for me, I was like, if my sister got married, I must get married first too, right? So so that churns up my personal space that I told myself that I must get married one day before my sister got married, because she's like 9 years apart with me. So she got married. I could be a long-term spinster by then if I choose to marry her first and I didn't look at it on my end. So those are the things that you can look at. Okay, let's go to the next slide. All right. So this is the journey that I started when I started introducing the essential oil. So even on an essential oil basis, because it's a new thing that I discovered during that time. So a lot of people, when they're trying essential oil, many of the essential oil out there is a lot about being commercialized. So they've used essential oil for a scale of for aromatherapy. A lot of people use it for that. But the essential oil that I embark in is actually 100% pure plant extract. So it's something that am uh, I'm actually courageous enough to take it up like a vitamins, or take it up like an for anesthetic, or take it up as an antihistamine. I do take up the essential oil for that purposes. But this is a context that I took out because a lot of people they need to understand. So they have this question that is it true that some essential oils and EO constitute enhance the transdermal absorption of various other substances such as vitamins or and analgesics when mixed? Or however, the word driver is misleading as it implies some kind of pushing action. This is wrong because it implies that if you layer a so-called driver oil on top of another essential oil, it will drive the oil into the skin. But if you have one EO to aid the absorption of another EO, they will simply need to be mixed together. So how does this come about? So by essential oil. So essential, this is something which I find it really interesting, but I totally agree with this context on the part about it being skin penetrating. And here I'm going to share a little bit about it. So in the context of essential oil that you find on the shelf, uh, normally what happens is we would face the situation where the essential oil is just for inhalation. So the molecules would just be in your room, and you would actually inhale the molecules. But you need to understand a certain context that if you didn't get 100% therapeutic, like I used to learn that some of our lotion have some chemicals also in there, right? And we didn't know that applying the lotions every day for our skin to make it moisturized, we didn't know that we're going to have some chemicals also absorbed through skin penetration. That's exactly what we are facing, right? And that's something that while we have essential oil, I realized that essential oil actually did an extra thing for the body. If you get a real 100% therapeutic essential oil, it actually will penetrate into your skin. It will do four things for you actually. The real essential oil, rather than the one that's just for inhalation purposes. The real essential oil actually can do detox, cleanse, repair, and restore. So how are they able to do that? Because when you can count a real essential oil, for example, I'm just taking out a simple peppermint, yeah, or an orange here that I have with me. Okay, an orange and a peppermint. This is the real therapeutic kind of essential oil that I'm using. Um, the real one, you would smell that orange smell is really like you're smelling the skin, like when you grate real orange, you would smell the zest of the orange, right? And the fragrance would just cover the whole place for minutes, right? When we're using it. So a real essential oil, especially an essential oil that has been distilled, the molecules is really fine. It will go through across the semi-permeable membrane that our epidermis has actually also already have a boundary or layer. Our body have actually about 7 layers of consider construct. It's actually a 7 layer to prevent all the virus from entering the skin actually. So essential oil is able to enter the 7 layers of the skin to actually go all the way to the base and help to take care of what they're going to do when they reach the base. Means does the body need it for allergy repair? Does the body need it for viral or a bacterial or antiviral attack or support for immune system? Does the body have a cut that needs to be mended, that need to be patched back? Or does the body needs to have a detox over things that is overwhelming or things that is not supposed to inhibit in the body, but it happened to be there because the chemicals are able to penetrate? And what would the essential oil do for you in the first place, right? So if you get 100% plant extract essential oil, they actually can do the detox and cleanse. They would actually work like a vacuum cleaner for you actually in your body, because they would identify. But what they do, because if it's on the skin, what they do is that they will you would see red marking or red patches when you use some essential oil, and you would wonder, is this an allergy? Because that's a normal thing. When you eat a medication, for example, you would get an allergy, right? And the doctor would say stop the medication because it's an allergy, right? Because it's a body reaction. But when you use an essential oil, the essential oil will not have a reaction over your skin. The essential actually will do immediate repair and cleansing of what it needs to do. So when it comes out and release red patches on your skin, it's saying that I am taking out all the impurities that's in your body, and I'm actually addressing it. I'm showing it to you that this is the red marking here. This is the exact spot, and there's an organ over here that says that this is the organ that's affected. So you just need to focus on supporting that particular organ. Because when I learned about essential oil, I realized that I can't know just essential oil. I have to learn about my body. So I went deeper during that time that I shared with you that I learned a massage, right? So through the knowledge of massage, I learned that our whole body has all the organs, every organs part of our body is here. So eventually, if you have a red color marking here, for example, these two areas, this areas is the nervous, this is the hormone system, this is the nervous system. So if it's red here, then the nervous system is the one that's requiring support, because essential oil, they don't come out at everywhere. They don't. They come in at a specific place, but that specific place has a meaning, has a meaning behind it, where it will tell you which organ is being compromised, and then you have to be the one identifying which organ. And then when I share about the usage of essential oil, I'll normally teach my class, my participants, exactly where to apply the essential oil if they have such an effect for their system. That to me, I take it as an indicator. So I that's why the purpose of an essential oil is actually to show us the indicators where our body actually needs more support. And that's why I use essential oil to actually support the system that needs up. Like I grew up in a worrying state as and I realized that my kidney is compromised a lot of time because my late mom, she has a kidney failure. But if I continue her same habit, like being a worrisome person and not taking it lightheartedly, and if I don't make myself happy, I will continue that worry state. And in the long run, being a worrisome person would end up for our own self having a weakened kidney in the long run. And I learned that I had to go through the process of learning that part. And I realized that my kidney behind, it used to be my it's the indicators in my toe. I had my last toe at my feet being brownish color during that time. And my mom encountered a situation where she had to get her last toe being amputated because the doctor was just concerned that it would be an infection and eventually it will the whole infection will affect the whole body. So she had a last toe amputated. But I saw that that is actually the kidney area for the body. So that's why I realized, oh, she had kidney failure during that time. And I realized that, oh, then I told myself that, how do I cope with not worrying? How do I, because this worrying is it's just like second nature. If you get used to this, it becomes a second nature. But this second nature thing that you think is a second nature is not a healthy second nature to keep in the first place. So that's why I told myself that I have to keep myself happy. And I saw my mom-in-law has that worry nature too when I was taking care of her. So normally I will forget and took up all her worries, and then eventually she's able to continue lightheartedly. And what I did when I found essential oil, I did some more reading up about it. And I realized that as simple as lemon, as simple as lemon can help to cleanse and detox our kidney and assisting us to get rid of a lot of impurities in the kidney, because kidney's properties is also to cleanse all the toxins, right? So that's the purpose of that. And at the same time, it is able to alkaline the pH value in our body, which our body needs to be alkaline at all times. Because if our body is acidic at a certain time, that is the time when it's as if we have a real acid being splashed on our face, and we will get a direct kind of a burn, right? What if that acidity in our pH value in ourselves actually have that effect on our organs? And that's why sometimes where inflammation occurs, and that's how inflammation occurs. Inflammation occurs because we were getting, if we were having overextensive of worry feeling there, and our pH was not alkaline, is actually acidic. So that acidity could just splash it at our kidney, and then eventually our kidney get inflamed, and that's how we will have an indigestion problem, then we have diarrhea, because our body is just getting it out, but at the same time it gets itself injured. And sometimes we have sore, internal sore, and sometimes we have like sore throat, sometimes we have stomach aches, or sometimes we have some cramps that we actually encountered, and we thought that it's just the food that we eat, right, most of the time. But we didn't realize it's the worry, it's the worrisome that we actually, it got itself triggered because we called it second nature. But if you know, that's why I put a boundary for myself that I wouldn't want to worry anymore. I told myself about a few years ago during that time, I think I wouldn't want to worry anymore, because this worrying is going to eat up or damage my system in the long run. So whenever I felt worried, I would be mindful about it. and I would say, okay, let's switch, and then I would tell the body that they need to switch. And when I came across essential oil, I find that it's such an easier thing to switch myself, to switch, to switch on not being worried. So I use the lemon to help. And how is it? I'll drop it. Normally, I'll drop it like one drop. This is how I use the pure essential oil. Drop one drop. Um, Activate it. You spin it 3 times anti-clockwise first, and then you spin 3 times clockwise. And then I start to pull up at all the fingers that I have. There's the other side too. So it's 10 fingers. And I will start layering on my top part of my palm, okay, and bottom. And last part, I go to the wrist. Because normally when we use our perfume, we will normally put it here, right? Or we would put behind the ear, yeah. But you know that behind the ear is where the liver is. So if your perfume is not a natural one, you actually are introducing chemicals immediately to the liver, and the liver will actually get the chemical breaking down and you will do the work. But if you put it too much over here, this is the trigger for the lymphatic point, and over the long run, eventually it will sink into our lymphatic system where they will collect the whole impurities in the lymphatic system. That's how our lymphatic system get itself toxic, get itself like contaminated. How do they get? It's because we have been applying things at places that we didn't know it's going to affect the whole physical body at the end of the day. Yeah. So when I use essential oil, I try to use it comprehensive. So I use it like the way I use it. And sometimes you can even do like this, make it warm, and you will really feel warm. But at the end of the day, what you're doing is that you're diffusing the whole room. And that's what I did for my students. Normally, when I start a day, I will do the essential oil one drop, and I'll use it on myself. And I would do this, and it would smell the orange, and the smell of orange is really nice. Or I would also drop one oil at the crown like that. Yep, one drop at the crown, because this is where the kidney area, the site is where the kidney sits. The worried kidney, sometimes it is sitting here. So sometimes it is the one that creates the worrisome in the mind. So how do you get the kidney calm? By dropping oils here, and then when the oils receive it through the olfactory, and then it will be able to clear this bridge that we have, which is our bridge, which is our brain bridge, so that once it's cleared, once the traffic jam here is cleared, then the information from left brain to the right brain, so you'll be able to pass and exchange the messages. So this is another place where the kidney is, besides the real kidney place. And there's another spot here at our lymphatic point that it's above the collarbone. It's above the collarbone, yeah. There's 2 points here, they call it K27, that you can actually twitch every day. Just as a therapy, but gently. Yeah, you can twitch it because it's just to release the worrisome nature. But so for me, sometimes uh, it's inside, right? So normally I would release it. I release it inside. So I would just twitch it there because it helps. Or as easy as this point here, it's a neutralizing finger. It's a neutralizing point. This is another point that we can do, that you could just press it there, press it deeply, and you have to create a memory there. So this part, uh, it's a memory thingy that you have to activate. So you have to have a happy thought in your body system to recognize what is the happy thought. So when you activate it, it's like activating the happy thought there. So whenever you feel stressed, whenever you feel triggered, like somebody is just brushing you there, so you say, okay, I'm neutralizing it. I'm neutralizing it. So how do you neutralize it? Is you can press here, you can do it here, or if you have essential oil, you can drop it here immediately, and that will actually neutralize you for yourself when using essential. You can use any essential oil if you want, but if you have lemon, that's super awesome. But you can still have, like for me, I love orange or lemon. I use this combination called citrus fresh, and that's the one that I normally use because it is a combination of grapefruit, orange, tangerine, lemon, and lime. So if a person loves combination, they love citrus fresh. Yeah, and that can help. And how do we release impurities internally? you have to make sure you get 100% plant extract. So I believe in this company that have 100% plant extract, which is called Young Living. I've been using it for 7.5 years for my mom-in-law, and I'm able to use it ingestion, but with training. I attended training how I do it by ingestion, and I actually drop it under the tongue, yeah, on for myself. So if you want to address the lymphatic system, maybe you could drink it in water, but normally how I share it is per drop, one drop is to a glass of water. It's like if you have a glass of water like tea, normally I have, like say for tea, and then I'll just have I'll drop an orange in my tea, for example, a glass of water, and normally that will be the one that I serve it for my students because I want to alkaline their system, and then I could also alkaline their pH in there, and I could also manage their worriness in their whole system. Because sometimes when you worry, some people had a normal kind of trigger. I reached a level where I actually had a trigger in my veins. Sometimes when I felt that the stress is taking a toll on me, I will have the veins twitching. Yeah, and when that happens, I actually note that, oh, sorry if I'm actually stressing you out. Okay, I'm helping you to relax. Okay, I'm just I'll drop everything. So what I did to myself is like I'll do a self talk to myself, and I'll just comfort my own self, and I'll just tell, okay, I'm going to drop everything for you. Okay, I'm going to stop what I'm doing. I know this RMD is urgent, I know, but I will stop. I will give me about 20 minutes. 20 minutes and I will address you, okay? And I will not do anything after that until you get yourself fully relaxed. So I do have a time that I get a twitch when I was younger, and then eventually I stopped the twitch when I learned that I will pull my handbrake and I give it like 3 hours doing nothing, and I had to learn to cope with doing nothing. Frankly, my mom would laugh about it because she would say, "You cannot sit still for more than 5 minutes. You tell me 5 minutes you cannot do nothing," and I was like telling her, "Yeah, I know it's hard, but I had to learn because or else my system is going to just continue twitching and it's not going to be healthy because it's an indicator already." I said, my nervous system is telling me I'm working too hard. It's draining me. I need to get relaxed. So I had to learn to switch off when I had to, and that helps. And that's called, and it's also part of physical boundaries. Yeah. Okay, so we've reached almost like 10:30 for and I want to hear questions. Okay, I want to address Sally's question before, and she said, "What is an example of a guiding value?" Okay, um, I do have some guiding value for myself. Like I love to take on some quotation. I love quotations. I love quotes. I love proverbs. I have this proverb that my uncle gave me when I was younger, and that reminds me and that keeps me. He said to me in this, he gave me a birthday present, and he gave me a quote, and that quote says, um, "Don't take life too seriously, or you're not gonna get out of it alive." That's what he gave me, and I said, "What do you mean by that?" And he said, "You're so serious. Whenever you are so serious, can you just be less serious, be smiling while you're being serious?" And I thought, can I do that actually? And I had to learn. I learned to be smiley when I'm serious. And that's actually what happened now. A lot of people is always seeing my smiley face, and then they say, "Are you being serious or are you not being serious?" I say, "I'm serious in a light-hearted way because if we are serious in the tension way, we're gonna screw ourselves up. In the first place, the inside will say, 'I'm screwed. I'm gonna get acidic again. She's gonna make me from alkaline to acidic again. I'm not gonna allow that. So I had to learn to smile. So my uncle teach me to smile. That's one of the thing. Another thing that we can look at is the fact that I always have this. I'm always entertained by comical things because I'm serious person. So I always need comedy, right? You really need to blend in with comedy. And I love some comedy. I started enjoying comedy. The fact that if you all remember about Charlie Chaplin, right? Yeah. He's one of the funniest comedian alive. And that is the one that I took up some shows, and I love this show when I was younger. I think you guys may remember it, about Sabrina the Witch. You remember that show? Yeah, that's another comedy that I love watching when I was younger. Uh, and Lucy is another comedian that, and I took up the comedian value there during that time, because I felt that I need to tell myself to be light, and 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 I'm grateful that I took up the comedy, that 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 humor that I felt that is an important value and essence for me to keep myself going, and that's how I could make it light, and that's how I'm the now called the bubbling star that I went across. Yeah. Does it help, Sally? The example that I gave you today? Okay. All right. Okay, let's see Fatia's question. Okay. What's a sign that we enjoy living our present life, and by setting the healthy boundaries, is that possible that we can? Yes, you can. For example, like for me, I was going through taking care of my late mom. It's on a daily basis. Every day, my late mom is a little bit like different from my mom-in-law. I'm actually her complainer bin. Um, she would tell me all the complaints that she wants to me, and I'll get all those, and I'm the bin, so I'm getting all those toxic story internalizing. But what I do with the stories is that whenever my cousin took me out for a holiday, I would tell my brain, let's flush it off, because if I don't flush it off, my bin will not be empty, and I have to get myself input again when I come back. So we have to learn to tell ourselves to create. That's why we have to know that there must be a bin. We create a bin. We have to have empty thoughts in our compartment. One compartment we have to have empty thoughts, where we're gonna have our space to think and reflect. We have to have a bin that we're gonna flush it all the time. We must have the happy emotions on the other side, creative emotions, because creativity helps a lot. What is therapeutic to my side when I'm going through it is the fact that I would do karaokeing. That's actually one of the hobby that I did when I was taking care of my late mom, and I would tell my mom, I want to do karaokeing, because my dad bought me the system, and he knows that system is all of us just love to express ourselves, regardless of whether we have a beautiful voice or not. But that's our releasing ground. So my dad say, this system is just to let go. So that's what my dad says. So we would normally have our schedule for karaoke. That's what we did. So I would say, okay, my time is I'm going to do it 3 to 5. After that, I'm going to study. Then my sister said, okay, I'm going to do it after you. And then my dad would say, don't have it at 6. When I come back from work, it's my turn. So we have our own time for karaoke last time when we were in our days. And that is really fun. But my mom, because she didn't do karaoke, she doesn't like karaoke. So she will just be the listener, and then she will listen when we sing, and then she will comment, Aisha, you should sing more English song. You don't have to sing Malay song because you sing it horribly. I was like, wow, you're so bad. And then she said, I just want you to elevate on your strength. That's it. And I love listening to your English songs. And then my sister, she can sing Malay songs really well. And she would say, you sing Malay song better and you sing English song better. But my dad, he loved the oldies. So he will have his I think one of the songs that he used to sing some of the songs is like Beatles song. That's those time. Yeah, so those are the sound that my dad used to sing. So we have a different kind of tempo at home, and that could help. Another thing that my dad helps in terms of getting ourselves in healthy boundaries is that's why I said he teach me a lot about time allocation, and he allocate time like on a daily basis. For me when I was young, I was really active. I asked him how do he cope with my activeness being a child, right? Then he said I allocate a time where we could do running. Like he allowed me to run in the field for half an hour. Like he would bring me to a real field place, playground field, and I'll run for half an hour, run around with balls and everything. And then after that, he will bring me home and he said, I will get so tired out that I will rest till the next morning. And he did that every day for me. And I said, wow, you really did that all the way? I said, yeah, to let you get, because I wouldn't know how to release it out of you because you were just four. You wouldn't be talking as much to do releasing, right? And I learned that, yeah, when we are young, we are just more on action taking. We just but when we are older, when we learn to communicate, I guess that's where my mom teach me the art of communicating, where she always tell me, you can listen adults topic, but you couldn't intervene. She would always tell me that. So I said, couldn't I just share something if I got inspired? If you have something inspiring, you can write it down to yourself, but you cannot say it out with adult. No way you can interrupt our communication. I said, seriously? I said, then she said, yes, because it's called rude. You can't be giving up your opinion because it's not being asked. Okay, then I really learned that communication part with a lot with my mom because she helps me through on that note. Do I help your question, Fatia? That you can do you like singing, or do you like to have someone to talk to? Maybe we could do like a conversation that we could do if you want to do this.
Yes, it's helped me.
Okay, so maybe we can start up after this on some Zoom calling, and then we'll see
Okay.
where we go from here. Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
we'll see.
Yeah, then we'll see about it. Yes. Okay, let's look at. All right, ladies, I want to open it to a question, other questions that you have, or how do you find today's session? Because it's actually my starting point. I wouldn't finish my slides, it's okay, but it's
Oh,
my starting point on the mirror. Yeah.
I think Ashita, it was wonderful. I think it would be fun if we did a part two, because I know your slides and they're really awesome. The rest of them that we have. And I
Yeah.
think it would be fun if we did a part two, because this is just, I think there's a lot to talk about and to understand boundaries and really recognize that that to empower yourself to have boundaries and to know what to do. I mean, what, time boundaries are really important. So beyond time management, the boundary that you put on time just to manage people and not just your schedule. So I think that's really important. And if anyone has any questions, we can ask Ashita. And then I think what we should do is schedule a part two, which would be kind of fun. So if you guys have any other questions, let me know. You can type them in the chat, or I think everyone might be unmuted, and you can go ahead and ask Ashita. And if you don't, that's okay. I want to thank Ashita very, very much, truly, for being with us today and tonight for us, and early in the morning for you. And thank you for coming to us from Singapore. Truly appreciate it. And for everyone being on and listening. So thank you very, very much. And I think we will schedule a part two, which would be really fun.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right.
You're welcome.
Bye. Thank you very, very
Bye.
much.
Okay, bye.
Bye-bye. Thanks, Jennifer.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Sandy. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, everyone.
You
Nice
too.
to meet you, Fatia.
Night.
We'll see you in
Early
part two.
morning.